like to welcome our guests. We have our dignitaries. I would like to welcome our resource person, Dr. Nabil Mancheri, the Secretary General of RIA. RIA is the Brussels-based international organization supported by European Commission. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the session. Now, I would like to invite and welcome Dr. Katie Thomas, who is the principal of St. Francis de Sales College. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the session. Now, I would like to speak few words about our college. SFS was founded in 1956 by our veteran founder, late Archbishop Eugene de Souza, whose goal was to promote excellence in higher education and foster human values. The college crest represents sun, symbolizing truth and love, the motto of our college. SFS imparts learning in higher education and gives learning to all the young so that they become good professionals and are able to do with the challenging needs. Now, I welcome Dr. Katie Thomas to deliver a message.
A warm afternoon to all who have connected and collaborated on this webinar platform. I extend my warm welcome to our renowned resource person, Dr. Nabil Mancheri, academicians, faculty members, and students from various institutions for the international webinar on impact of COVID-19 in global economy. The outbreak of pandemic COVID-19 all over the world has disturbed the political, social, economic, religious, and financial structures of the whole world. The pandemic has pushed the global economy into a recession, which means the economy starts shrinking and growth stops. According to International Monetary Fund, the global economy is expected to shrink by over 3%. Many advanced economies in the world have rolled out support packages to overcome the crisis. I think by the cooperation and coordination among nations, the global economy will recover soon. I welcome all the participants once again and hereby declare the webinar open. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable message. Now, I'd like to invite Mr. Tino Joseph, the head of economics department of St. Francis de Sales College, to introduce about our resource person. So please.
A very good afternoon, everyone present here. First of all, I am thankful to the college authorities and principal for supporting such initiatives. This will be an inaugurating program of Arts and Humanities webinar series. Initially, we tried to conduct this program as a closed session just for our students. Since we have got an eminent resource person like Dr. Nabil Manjeri, we thought of opening up for more participants. I'll just introduce my dear friend Dr. Nabil Manjeri to the distinguished participants. He hails from the Malappuram district of Kerala. He did his doctoral studies from the Jawaharlal Nehru University in New Delhi. He was associated with many universities and institutes. He worked at National Institute of Advanced Studies, IAC campus, Bangalore as assistant professor. He was a consultant with the ICRIAR, a think tank in New Delhi. Also, he worked as a research fellow at the University of Tokyo, a visiting researcher at Hiroshima University in 2008, a visiting fellow at the Institute of World Economics and Politics, Beijing in 2012, a visiting PhD scholar at Australian National University. He was a recipient of the Australia-India Council Fellowship Program, Japan Foundation Fellowship, as well as a Marie Curie Fellow at Institute of Environmental Sciences, Leiden University, Netherlands. He worked as a consultant to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD Paris, an intergovernmental organization representing 37 countries of the world working for stimulating economic progress and world trade. Currently, he is associated with the Global Rare Earth Industry Association in Brussels, REIA, as Secretary General, which is an international non-profit organization funded by the European Commission. He was named as one of the top emerging geoeconomists in the world by Johns Hopkins University, USA. He is having a number of international publications to his credit, which is available in Google Scholar, you can search. Overall, he is an expert in the areas of trade and trade policies, energy resource management, and international economics. A great achievement someone would dream of. He is the right person to guide us when there is complete or partial lockdown in production sector all over the world. He may address the questions of how the nature of trade transforms from the scarcity of production and how the circular flow of income affects with low level of transactions between different sectors of the economy. Also, the strategies for the world economies to recover. We are much glad and obliged to have such a young, wonderful scholar for our program. Thanks, dear, for accepting our invitation. Before handing over the mic to our chief guest and moderator, Father Praveen, I wish to mention a few things. Here we are running the program sitting at different places, and a few students like Ms. Litty Thompson,
कागज देख रहा
Sari,
था
and Raymond are also involved. There may be a chances of technical error. If any technical interruptions happens, we will communicate through WhatsApp group. So all of you please update it. This is our first experience, and so all of you please be patient and cooperate with us. Thank you all. Enjoy the sessions.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to hand over the forward proceedings to Father Praveen.
Thank you, Litty. So it's my pleasure to be part of this webinar. And in a special way, I would like to thank our principal, Dr. Katie Thomas, for giving us this platform for encouraging the faculty.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone there in virtual world, different places in India. I'm Nabil Mancheri. Dr. Tinu has mentioned, I am the Secretary General of RIA, the Global Rare Earth Industry Association, which is a Brussels-based international non-profit association. And I'm very happy that Tinu and the college and the principal has invited me, and Father has invited me to join this webinar on analyzing or speaking on the issue of impact of COVID-19 on global economy. And as I will tell you a bit more about my association. It's called Rare Earth. I'm not sure if any of you have heard about it now, or you may remember this. What is rare earth elements? Many of us, all of us, have studied it in at least in the high school. Where we have seen this in chemistry. This time, the periodic table, and if you see in the orange, there are 17 elements. You have iron, copper, nickel, this kind of thing. And if you look at the orange marked one, these are called the rare earth elements, and we handle the issues related to these elements. And there are, for example, there are international association representing World Steel Association, or you may have here International Energy. As a students of economics, you may have here International Energy Association. Same like we have for these 17 elements, we have the rare earth element industry association. And so why it is important, why, I will give you an introduction, because it's my duty to give you an introduction why this is important before I go to the impact of the COVID, because I also deal with the companies all over the world and also the government agencies, and how the COVID has impacted their business. So it's from my own perspective and my own experience dealing with different agencies globally. And so why especially rare earth element it has impacted, and why it is important. See, for example, these, especially in the modern technologies, you need these elements. In earlier days, you only need copper or iron or aluminum for certain things, but these days you need a lot more of these different things for your different gadgets. For example, now you see the for if you many of the countries are moving towards new energies like wind energy. So if you want to produce wind energy, you need very specific magnet there, and you need these rare earth element there. For example, you are moving towards, globally we are moving towards electrification. You have electric cars like Tesla, or even big companies like Toyota are moving. In 10-30 years, most of them will have the electric cars running on every streets, at least in the developed world. So you need these elements for to have electric cars, and for the batteries, also the electric cars or other the energy storage, you need these elements. Out of these 17 different elements are used for different applications. And also for your laptop screen or mobile screen, and your LCDs, LEDs, these all new technologies, last 20 years or 30 years, you have seen developing a lot of these new applications. So you need these kind of things there. And so, and also for refining the petroleum, and also for catalyst, when you use on the emission pipe in the cars or usual bikes, and to make it more environment friendly, you need catalyst. And to be in the catalyst, you need some of these elements. And there are also applications in the fertilizers and in the paints, pigments, and also nuclear reactors to cool down the reactors. So the actual importance of these very specific 17 elements are being increasing day by day. And unlike, for example, if you look at the International World Steel Association, it has been established after First World War. So steel was there, because steel was main important one, and aluminum, International Aluminum Association. And for all major base metals like copper, there is Copper Institute, there is Cobalt Institute. So but for as these elements get more and more important, we didn't have an international coordinating agency so far. And we only established this in last year to have an international body. And so also an important thing is that why it is important. Now most of you have joined either by laptop or by mobile phone, and without these elements, if you look at the periodic table, if you look at your smartphone, it's a very interesting one. You have about 70 elements. For example, you have more than 100 elements in the periodic table. Out of it, about 70 elements you could find in your hand. So we live, the world supply chains are so complex. We live in a so complex interdependent world now. And a pandemic like COVID, how it could impact the whole value chain. All the world is interconnected, and how it could disrupt the whole trade, or the world economy. And for example, as I said, these elements, the orange one are, like I said before, are the rare earth one, and these, and also there are other ones. And in your mobile phone, you could see about 17 elements. In the screen itself, you could see about 10 to 15 for the screen to give it different color when you touch the screen, to move it or to vibrate. So and for the for the speakers, for the machines. So even a small mobile phone is such a complex one. And the interesting thing was, most of these materials are not produced where the mobile phone is produced. For example, if the mobile phone is produced in India, most of the materials are not produced in India. For example, for in the battery cobalt, it is mined in a very conflict-prone area in Democratic Republic of Congo in Africa. And after you mine it, it has to go to China for refining it. And from there, you get the oxide. Then somebody, South Korean Samsung or LG, has to make it a battery cell, along with somebody from different companies produce different thing, especially also in a battery cell. For example, cathode materials produce one company in one country. So finally, before you get it, every material has to go through different world countries. And yeah, so it's such a complex world. And also, for example, one material you took it like niobium in your screen, high strength steel, then it has to come from Brazil or maybe this zirconium is produced in somewhere in the Kanyakumari or Chavara in Kerala. So it's then it has to come to all together. So the world has become so complex in the last 20 years. And so why we came up, why the European Commission thought of establishing an international association with the help of others, because these elements are also politically very sensitive. The rare there is a trade tension, international trade tension going on between US and China, and in 2011 there was a similar incident between China and Japan, because in the water, the sea, the South China Sea, there was some territorial dispute between China and Japan. And what happened when when some Japanese fishing trolleys came towards the sea, some Chinese the army tanks went and crashed it, because they said, okay, they are coming to our waters, and there was some tension. Then the Chinese Coast Guard took the Chinese vessel to that side. But what happened, what did China did is that they suddenly stopped exporting this material to Japan. And Japan is the most high-tech country, and most of the Sony or Panasonic, all these companies, or Toshiba or Hitachi, are all depend on China for these elements to produce mobile phone or energy storage or battery materials or magnets, high high you know high strength magnets. So China used this capability in materials to gain political gain. The similar way, China can also do this for India. They can stop exporting this material to India or even to US. So world was kind of a trade tension was happening. So the government or the agencies thought that, okay, it should be and there was no information. Main thing was, if you look at the steel or copper, there are a lot of information you could see in the website. But for these elements uh, you could not see any information. So the European Commission, the executive body of the European Union in Brussels, started, okay, we should have an international association. So they funded a project, and we established the association in 2019, last June, almost a year now. And I was selected as the Secretary General of the association, because I have been working on these issues since last 10 years, just after my PhD from JNU, and with the with National Institute of Advanced Studies, a project for the DRDO. I have been working in India for these issues before I moved to Japan. And so this is a kind of background. And our aim is to, because this world is so complex, and we don't, there is also a lot of illegal trade happening between Myanmar and China. There's also unaccounted trade happening within India, of these materials going to China or Japan, unprocessed material, because in India we don't have that capability to make it a usable product. We just mine it, process it, and send it, because we cannot produce it as a metal or oxide. And also the mining, where it is mined, is environmentally very devastating. If you ask Tinu, that in state like Kerala, there is a place called Chavara or Alapad, where the Indian Rare Earth Limited, the Mumbai-based government agency, where they mine, it's also radioactive. So there is an international protocol how to handle these materials in a sustainable way. So to formulate those protocols, we need an international agency. So that's how it's our mission to help the companies or government to produce these materials sustainably. So for that we have different we have initiated different programs like traceability, database development, and also working with the international standardization, that you should have standard for these products, and also certification that every company who produce it, we provide, okay, how you produce it, is it sustainable way, or it is not, it is legally produced. So we provide certificate for these companies. And I hope you all of us are hearing me properly. And
Nabil,
as I mentioned, the association, the international organization, so we set up, moving very fast now. About all over the world, 70 lakh people have been infected by this. 70 lakhs is a huge number, and we see about 4 lakh, 4 lakh 21,000 people died of this. It is very, yeah, very very sad. And so how this is the countries. Now US lead with the impacted case, and also India is in the fourth country to have COVID cases. And how you see
70
this,
lakhs is a huge number.
this is the forecasted global GDP. We are all, most of us are the economics students of economics, and we go by the facts and figures, not by the stories. So I would see the global GDP growth in 2000. The global GDP growth in real terms in 2019 was 2.9, and 2000 and the 2019 they forecasted, the IMF forecasted the global GDP would grow 2.9%. But actually what happened due to the COVID, it is now predicted that we will only grow up to 2.4. Even a 0.6 percent reduction in the GDP, it means a lot. And the companies and the countries have impacted, and the production have stopped, export has been stopped for 2 months, 3 months, and the supply chains have impacted, so that actually reduced the GDP rate. But when the economy restart, we will have a boost. So next 2 years we will see uh, a GDP growth more than the average, that because you again starting and there will be a boost. And also because of these several stimulus packages that I will deal if the time allows. And if the even the from point 0.9 to 0.4, if you see this one, is means a lot. Now the global GDP is about 80 trillion, 82 trillion about. And a point 4 reduction in the growth means it would be around 3.4 or about 4 trillion. You will be losing 4 trillion of global GDP because of the COVID. 4 trillion means that's the entire economy of India. That's our real GDP is in India, more or less average is about 4 trillion, 3 point something. So you lose entire GDP of India because of this COVID. So point 6 means, or 0.5 means a lot of these things. And you have seen, and today you all close to the Mumbai, you see the share price, our Mumbai stock exchange has also has flattened these days, and this is the main stock price of the global countries. So most of from, you could see a flat, complete decline from February, and of the most of the major indexes globally. And you have experienced that in India too, and today was the one of the biggest crash. And because of that, because the institutional investors, and the shareholders, they move their money to the safe havens, like they invest in US dollars, and US exchange rate also get devaluated. Exchange, the dollar get value, stronger and stronger whenever there is a capital outflow from for most of these developing countries. And if you see this, you also heard about this. This is also another indicator of the global growth. This is the crude oil price. Crude oil price, from December, it has come down to a lot. And the crude oil price is measured in basically the world economy, or the investors look at three indices. One is the OPEC basket price, the oil exporting and producing countries, oil producing and exporting countries. And but there are also other countries. Then there's also weekly Brent is called the uh, the northern sea in Europe, somewhere it started from the Norway. And you have the West Texas Intermediate crude oil, which is usually produced in US and traded in New York Mercantile Exchange. And this is also a index for the oil prices. And so this have come down. So this has been one of the main impact of the impact of the COVID-19. If you look at the world forecast mercantile trade, trade has impacted a lot. Uh, If you look at the table from historical, WTO says that about 13% of the developed world to 32%. If you look at here, some disturbance. Yeah, 32 percentage of the of 31.9 percentage of could impact the world merchandise trade, and it varies across countries. As explained, for example, you look at the US, or North America, and also South America, and Europe and Asia. So it varies a lot. If you look at this is how you measure the GDP and how it impacted the different sectors in the national economies is for various countries, also India. So you look at the agriculture, natural resources, manufacturing, services, then trade and tourist services, and total impact on the all the national GDPs. So it's a huge impact and across the sectors. The great impact of the containment, because we also are being locked down, people could not go and purchase, and production has been and stopped. So the greatest impact of the containment restrictions will be on retail, and if you look at the retail and wholesale trade, and why the retail and wholesale trade is impacted very much, and in also in the real estate, it's a huge GDP contributor globally. It has impacted very negatively, and and there are also notable difference between different countries, developing, developed, and countries. Then one of the most impacted sector is the travel and tourism. For example, you could there is no flight moving, or there is no business conferences or business meetings happening anywhere in the world, and countries depending on the travel and tourism is impacted the most. And and also or the countries depending on the agriculture, mining sectors could experience less severe impact, as we see in the previous slide. The agriculture, for example, agriculture and mining are just zero point 0.1 or 0.1, 3.3 in that category. But if you look at the travel and tourism, it's some for some countries like 11%, 19%, 15%. So the most affected sectors are the related to trade, tourist services. The flight has been stopped. So these are the, and if you look at the global contribution of travel and tourism industry to the global GDP, it was about 685 million in 2019, and in they forecasted, IMF forecasted about 711 million, but in actual case in 2020 would be only about half of it. It would be 447 million in this year. So it's half of the impact of the COVID. And for example, since I have a lot of data on the EU production, we follow with, we are working with, some of our members are the tier ones and OEMs like Volkswagen or Citroen, etc. So if you look at the impact of COVID on EU production, one of the world's biggest car producer is Volkswagen. About 550, means more than 5 lakh car production has been impacted. So actual production in EU is about 20 lakh, and out of it, only for the Volkswagen, about 550 lakh car production has, and for the PSA, those who produce Citroen or Peugeot, and then also Renault, Nissan, about 400. So most of the brands in the Europe have impacted on this. And if you look at the growth rate, that's also it's a huge impact on the growth rate of the car production. And then if you look at the actual numbers by country wise in Europe, most of the countries have impacted. If you see the high impact countries, like the most highest cases, you see the COVID has been in France and Italy. So the production numbers are actually huge for these countries. About 3 lakh in France. The car production has reduced, and also Czech Republic, one of the main car producer of the Europe, and also Italy, and Spain, for example. See, so it's also directly correlated with the number of cases of the COVID, and also the working days that impacted is varies across countries. For example, in Australia it's 34 days, and so it's several days of the impact of the COVID. And and out of, in EU, for example, in 2.6 million, 2 mil is it means 26 lakh people are employed in the automobile sector, and out of that, in different countries, this job has been affected. For example, in Austria about 14,000 jobs, in Belgium about 30,000 where I'm based, 30,000 jobs, in Czech Republic, in Italy about 69,000 jobs have been impacted because of this COVID. And also and several countries have different package. There are our prime minister in India also announced, or finance minister announced several stimulus package for different sectors, and there are several way to do this. There are also demand based stimulus pack to stimulate the demand. There is also financial package to the supply side, those who produce those who supply for the companies. So in stimulus package, Japan lead the way. It's about 21% of the GDP is used now for the stimulus packages various. It could be loan, it would be direct money transfer to the people, and for example in United States about 11%, and in Australia 9%, like that, and India is about 3.5% of the what we announced last few weeks. It could be either the stimulation could be either demand side or supply side. For example, if you invest for the in India, for example, if you invest for the programs like Narega, rural employment program schemes, that's actually give rural households incentive to work and get their money. So that actually stimulus the demand side. And if you give loan to certain SMEs, that's a supply side, that they could restart their production and find solution for the backlogs. So several countries have taken several, and especially in the developed world, they also align the stimulus package with uh, new. For example, in most of the Europe, for example, if you look at the automobile sector, the demand side stimulus package include for encouraging renewable energy or the electrification of the cars, etc. So now, as a part of the stimulus package, in Germany has about 100 billion only for the automobile sector, and also in France and in Greece, most of the in Netherlands. So as part of this is also you targeting the climate change and global warming issues through these stimulus packages. So they provide subsidies. For example, in Germany, you get about 10,000 euro if you want to buy an electric car like Tesla or Toyota Prius. And are we so this is, I'm going to finish soon. I don't know if somebody is speaking. And if you look at the companies, how they in how they perform globally, these are in the y-axis, you could see, as economic students of economics, you could see in the west on the y-axis how the pandemic impacted, and the x-axis you could see how the stimulus packages that various governments are doing, if and if effective, the implementation of the containment program for COVID is effective, and on the top of the is better here, and the stimulus package is also better. Then you get a V-shaped curve of the countries. You could find few countries like Japan or South Korea, they can, or Taiwan, that they could contain in a better way the spread of the disease. Then they could also recover their economy very fast. So you get a V shape in the economic recovery and the impact. And if you look at and if you are, you could contain the spread of the virus. You manage better, but you don't have much of the financial stimulus packages, if you like, and then you get, you reduce the impact of the COVID, but your economy is still not growing. So you get a kind of graph like this. But most of the world countries, developed world, has seen this black here. You contain the disease pretty fast, and also you started to rebound the economy pretty fast. So this is is the measure of the different things. And if I look at the how the multinational companies or big companies have been dealing with these issues, and they have, if we talk with the companies, they have basically 5 streams and 5 teams in each level, and they have 18 work streams. For example, first one you have to do is that you have to protect your workforce through policy management, communication, personal and contractors, facility, health and government issues. Then you have, supply chain stabilization. You need to stabilize because it was impacted. Most of the supply chain, like I said in the introduction, are diverse, is connected to all over the world. And when it started in China, the supply could not come from China. When China started to stabilize, then the demand side, the European economies could not import it. So you have to do, kind of inventory management, production and operation, that kind of thing. And then you have to customer engagement, B2B transmit what the customer want. Then customer protection, that you have several, cases of lockdown, how you protect. And then you have financial trust testing, new center integration, etc. For when you open up the economy, you have to do different kind of things this for the companies. I think I will stop here. I'm not sure if the time is done, and we have some time for the discussion. So I stop here, and thank you for listening to this. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Hello.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, the participants kindly mute yourselves. There is still some disturbance coming from some of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Like Professor Kanchan, there, Professor Kanchan. The host, Biju, if you can hear me, kindly mute or you can remove Professor Kanchan there. The noise is coming from that end. Okay. Yeah. So we've had a very fruitful and beautiful discussion. I'm sure Professor Dr. Nabil Mancheri would have continued with a little more.
Okay.
Yeah. But then, unfortunately, as I said, our meeting is scheduled only for 40,
40 minutes. Yeah.
yeah, 40 minutes. So we are not able to. So I request now the participants to raise their question. Let's make it like more informal. Instead of like reading out some questions, if anyone would like to ask a question, you're free to ask, and then afterwards we will just have the vote of thanks, because this meeting also will end by 4:45. This meeting also will end by 4:45. So it's time now to ask questions. If you have a proper, good question, don't ask any silly question. But yeah. So I think I invite the participants first
Yes,
to come
sir.
forward.
May I?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, may
Karmakar
I
sir.
ask my question, please? Yes. Yes, Father Praveen. I have a
Yeah.
question to Nabil, sir. If he can give 5 key ways, the most important key ways in which the Indian economy can snap back in the least possible time. 5 ways in which Indian economy can snap back in the least possible time.
Yes. We are in a very different, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I can hear.
We are in a very different situation. The impact of lockdown, uh, the spread of the COVID, and the timing of the lockdown, didn't match very much. It's nobody's fault. Okay. Because nobody could predict, what would be the impact and when it would start. So it's a all different world experience. So we could not blame anyone, whether the lockdown could have a positive impact on the spread of virus in India. but it's okay. But we have to manage. We have a large population of the people below poverty, and also the middle income group. uh, so the least possible ways has open up, if not the if not the big malls and in the metros, at least we could open up the real estate. And but most of the migrant workers have gone. But it's better that we focus on the agricultural sector. Stimulation package should be diverted to that. And also it's a good way that we also had resources for the programs like Narega. So we should focus on the agriculture and the rural economy, where most of the migrants people have gone back to the rural or their native places. And we cannot suddenly open up it's least possible way. We cannot open it up yet, because the spread of the COVID is actually at the top of the time. So we cannot allow a complete relaxation of the lockdown. That will lead to disastrous results. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Karmakar, for asking that question, and then Dr. Nabil for answering it beautifully. Anyone else has got any question that we can ask the resource person?
I had one more.
Yeah, okay.
I
If
had one
there
more
is no one
question.
coming forward,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll ask you.
Yes. So one more thing, that if suppose the country would have been sealed during February itself, we sealed it in somewhere in March, and even then the foreign travel was continuing. I saw from External Affairs Ministry that almost 11 lakh people have visited our country from foreign countries during January and February, and out
Yeah,
of
that
that,
was.
2.3% belong to China, and
Yeah.
almost 6-7 thousand people visited from Wuhan. So my question is that our intelligence here, scientific people, and the politicians and everybody in the country who claim to be so intelligent and educated, couldn't they foresee the situation and seal the country and say that China people will not be visiting our country, and at least from Wuhan, from the infected countries, nobody would be allowed inside our country. Were they so apprehensive that if they say this, they'll be taken in a negative way in the world global scale? Why they didn't do it? That would have been, don't you think that would have been a much effective measure rather than going for lockdown, lathi charge, and so many migrants traveling from one place to the other? I need your
No, I'm not sure if that had happened in January and February. A lot of people, especially from Wuhan, came to India. Could have been possible, because that's the main reason why it spread to in Italy, because there are a lot of Chinese working in the automobile and textile factories in northern Italy. So after the Chinese New Year, and they started to come back. So that was the main reason how it started in Italy. But I didn't know that there have been so many tourists, and maybe we were not sure how fast in early January, because it was just starting in China, and we didn't know that how fast it could how spread. Nobody knew about, even the statement coming from WHO, World Health Organization. They were saying it will not spread from human to human, not spread. And there were false and unscientific claims from even from WHO, because they didn't have result. So this is not time to blame how we could manage. But yeah, but and it's also if you do lockdown, it's the migration would have better. Yeah, thank you so
Uh,
much.
I would like to interrupt, sir. There
Yeah.
was the
Yeah,
WHO
Karmakar sir,
indicated
just
on 14th March itself. Yeah.
yeah, Karmakar sir, just I would
Yeah.
like to interrupt you here. I think we may not have much time. Just last five
Okay.
minutes are there for the session to wind
Okay.
close by itself. So I would now yeah, request Mantasha. But before that, I would just like to tell that yeah, we got 10 minutes. That's the message that I've got. So I think uh, a few questions, if we have, we will continue with the session even after vote of thanks. As I said, let's keep it informal. So now I invite
Mhm.
Mantasha Ansari, a student of second year BA of SFS College, to come forward and propose the vote of thanks. Mantasha, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Father. A very hearty good afternoon. It was a great webinar, and was still in the mood to listen valuable words, Dr. Nabil Manchuri, and like your years of research, your depth of understanding, and your ability to present the subject in such an interesting way has produced one of the memorable evenings in our group history, and would like to thank our dear principal sir. We all know that in your busy schedule you took out time for us, was one of the most us, and thank you so much for your valuable words. And would like to thank Tinu Joseph sir for not just making this happen but also making a journey positive and rewarding experience. And thank you, our dear father Praveen, for your guidance and for your valuable time and organizing this webinar. And thank you so much, Petra Clemos, and all my dear audience for your valuable time. It was an happy evening. And Litty also for being there with us. And have a sweet time, all of you. And all I wish that we could recover with the COVID as soon as possible. So thank you. Be safe. Happy.
Yeah. Thank you, Mandasha, for those nice words. And we have ended the session here. But then now I keep the last 5 minutes open to the participants here. The platform is open. If you have any question, now a few announcements before that. The feedback link is provided to you in your chat boxes, in your respective chat boxes. It is there in WhatsApp group. It is there as well as in Zoom platform. So Zoom platform, better you copy it down right now because, as I said, the session will end soon, and it will be available also in the WhatsApp group. Yeah. Any final observations? Anybody has a question very relevant and very pertaining? I think I would ask Tinu sir, the professor or HOD of economics department himself, to share his views.
Dr. Nabil Manjeri, Nabil, please.
Yeah.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
Why
Please
is
go ahead.
there is one question from an audience? It's
Yeah.
why is the gold price is increasing in spite of the lockdown period? Just one question somebody asked from the Miss Nasira, like that.
Yeah,
Why?
it's good. And initially the gold price started to increase but now last couple of days the prices has started to come down. I don't know if you see the gold price increased because people withdraw from the share market. They started to invest in gold. Gold always is a valuable asset. So even not only for the household but also for the institutional investors, when the global economy is in danger or in trouble, they always look for safe assets. So gold is one of them. So the global demand actually pushed gold prices to go up. So many people were investing in the golds. So that could have been one reason. But if you see the gold prices, as it has become a new normal. Yeah, the global economy, the impact all over the world, it has become a new normal. So people don't trust or they could see what impact it has been and what is going to be. So they have also started to divest. So the price in last few days has been started to come back a bit by bit. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. One more last question, maybe. What is the
Nabil,
impact of COVID-19 on inflation in India, and how to control in inflation?
There is no inflation, I guess, because it price or yeah because when you have demand, because there was no demand for many of the production, and the price actually declined for many of the things. So if you see the global impact would be the negative on the prices, most of the prices except the gold. Except the gold. Now the gold, okay, it's gone.
Nabil,
Okay,
I have
yeah.
a question.
Yeah, there's another question there. Yeah, please.
Nabil, yes, Nabil.
Nabil, I can hear you.
Yeah,
Go
yes.
ahead, sir.
Yes.
I have Dr. Jain, Nabil.
Yeah.
Dr. Jain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Yeah, Nabil, suppose this kind of pandemic is happening, just supply chain disruptions. We do not know, we cannot anticipate. How do we identify the weakest links in the supply chain? How to rectify all of a sudden? That is, now we are coming through everyday huge data. Data management is also very important. In that respect, how do we identify quickly the weakest links in the supply chain and how to rectify? I am talking about short time. Long time, we have lots of plan. Could you elaborate?
Yeah. Most of this is the things, supply chain disruption happens to global companies always. And so most of them, have a kind of 30 to, if you look at the Unilever, the big multinational companies, okay, on the retail or the even the automobile companies, they anticipated, and at least they will have a 30 days to 90 days inventory or stock of the products. I'm not talking about the SMEs. I'm talking about the large companies. So they depend on that inventories for short term. So that's the main reason. But in and there is an interesting study because you said the data, looking at the how the companies managed the disruption when it started in China on basis of the Twitter feed. Data is big now, a lot of controversy in India. So based on the Twitter feed, the researchers identify how the companies, because you can get, if you pay to the Twitter, you can get the data, how even what you responded for example, Professor Jain said this, okay, this could be done. So the Internet of Things, lot you can collect most of the information based on your questions, then you can tabulate it and get the answer. So there are different things that you could do through the data. Yeah,
What
thank
about
you for your
artificial intelligence?
yes, that's what I'm saying, that so you could find solution through artificial intelligence. That's one aspect that through the Twitter data you could get the information how companies responded, and even that companies won't know. For example, if CEO responded, several CEOs have responded like my company did this, my company did this, and whoever put your questions, you get that answer to your desktop. So it's
Hello,
Yeah.
hello.
data is very important.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Hello,
sir.
I'm
I think
Praveen.
we will.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Hello.
then we don't have time, I think, to. Is it a question,
Sir,
Praveen?
I have a little question, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have listened so much about the Nabi sir talk about the global economy.
Mhm.
Sir, here I want to know about what is the impact of the COVID-19 on, especially on unorganized sector of Indian economy, because they are suffering a lot. So I want to know about the view of the Nabil sir.
Yeah, Nabil sir, be short. Just, yeah.
Yeah. I haven't looked at exactly on the from the economic term, how much job in the unorganized sector we lost. We could see that, okay, as you said, they lost the jobs, and but I haven't looked at the individual countries like India. I haven't looked, but it could be a huge impact. But the unorganized sector or the agriculture, like you said, the least impacted sector could be the agriculture and the mining, or so the
Sir, I
your
don't think it affect the agriculture sector. Sir, as I saw that the school teachers, college teacher who are doing the job on the, I think, not a permanent basis, they are suffered a lot. And on the another hand,
okay.
the labor of the another
Yeah,
state of like UP
I
and
think,
Bihar, they are suffering a lot.
yeah, we will have many discussions and deliberations. I think Dr.
Uh,
Nabil's question email address is given in WhatsApp group as well as in the chat
okay, sir.
box here, and we will
Okay, sir.
continue with the more discussion privately. So now I call upon Letty Thompson to come forward and just wind up
Thank you, sir.
our webinar. Yeah, thanks,
Thank you, sir.
Nabil sir. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of disturbance.
Letty, you have to unmute yourself. Letty, hello, please unmute. Yeah, yes, start.
Finally, we have ended up with the session. Thanks, everyone. Special thanks to Dr. Naveen, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. And also all audience and participants. I think all your doubts are clear. And if you have any doubts, you can mail directly to Naveen, sir, at the chat box. And hope we'll meet soon. Thank you for collaboration. Thank you for everything. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and it has been a nice experience.
Nabil,